The Vrede Dairy Farm project will be back in focus when the State Capture Commission resumes in Parktown here in Johannesburg today. The Free State's former head of agriculture and rural development, Peter Thabethe, is expected back on the stand. ENC's Erin Bates is there, and she'll be telling us now why he's back on and what's been going on. Erin, a very good morning to you. Well, Mr. Thabethe, since he testified, we then had the El Sabi Rockman testifying. Can you just remind us some of the highlights that have come out from those testimonies?
Yes, well, Elsabe Rockman is the former MEC of Finance in the Free State. She was around during the period when this Estina dairy project really kick-started and then blew open in the press and generally in the public. Rockman really sort of laid a lot of the blame at Thabethe's feet. She said that the Finance Department's control over monies flowing out of the Free State government was rather limited. And importantly, she also, for the first time in evidence at the State Capture Commission, drew the ties directly between one of the three Gupta brothers and this Estina/Vrede dairy project. Rockman said she attended several meetings with Rajesh Tony Gupta, the youngest of the notorious three Gupta brothers, during which he asked about the project. And this begs the question, why would a Gupta brother ask about a dairy project in the Free State if they, as has been claimed, had nothing to do with it?
Now, Rockman, you say, has considered to attending a number of meetings with Rajesh. Who else was in those meetings?
Well, she says these meetings were exclusively between her and Rajesh Tony Gupta, except on one or two occasions where a man named Ashok Narayan was also present. Narayan was employed by then Free State Premier Ace Magashule as a special advisor in his office, and actually preceding his official appointment, he went on a trip to India, a fact-finding trip to go and visit Paras, which is a big dairy giant in India, and that was organized through the Free State government and with the sanction of senior officials in the Free State government as well. So Ashok Narayan sometimes went or appeared at these meetings, but Rockman said that Thabethe, for example, was never present. Saipati Dlamini also never present. Neither Mosebenzi Zwane, then MEC of Agriculture and Rural Development in the province, or Ace Magashule, then Premier. And the reason that's important, Dan, is because the last time we spoke before Rockman testified, I referred to some records in the Gupta leaks which showed appointments between several of these people and some members of the Gupta family. She's denied many of those meetings and said often meetings were scheduled and were cancelled at the last minute or didn't occur.
Now, Mr. Peter Thabethe, his role has seemed to be like central as well, and Rockman had more to say about that. I mean, how should we understand Mr. Thabethe's role in this saga?
Well, the fact that he has repeatedly appeared before the Commission to testify speaks volumes about the questions the like of Advocate Leah Trabashe, senior counsel of the inquiry's legal team, has about Thabethe's role in the Vrede Dairy project, his role as accounting officer, as head of department in the Free State's Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. Rockman often laying the blame at Thabethe's feet, saying that decisions made by Thabethe's department were then effectively processed and rubber-stamped by Treasury in the Free State. But of course, questions around Rockman remain. She was a Director General in Magashule's office as Premier before she was promoted to the MEC of Finance. And bear in mind, Bradan, that as MEC of Finance, she held no financial qualifications when she stepped into that role, which may raise some questions for people who think that oversight and financial nous is important when it comes to that role and that responsibility. But Thabethe's role again remains key. Is he going to be the fall guy in this case? Is he going to be the person mulcted with all the liability over this controversial dairy project, which has time and again appeared before the Commission? On my count, this may be his fourth or fifth appearance. We really don't know at this point, but certainly a lot of questions from the inquiry's legal team, and the chairperson even asking him previously, why weren't you more careful with taxpayers' money effectively? Why weren't you exercising proper oversight? So certainly he was in the hot seat before, and he's likely to be in that hot seat again today.
Erin, as we conclude very briefly, I mean, some people might be wondering, why is the Estina Dairy Farm project on and on for several weeks now, as you say? I mean, is it holding a kind of a key of sorts in the whole state capture project?
A very pithy and shrewd question, I think, Bradan, and it may speak to how emblematic this project could be for the investigations of the State Capture Inquiry's legal team. And more broadly, it may also speak to some of the evidence they may have at their fingertips, the sort of forensic material they may have on financial flows. We know at previous hearings we had painstaking evidence around those Gupta leak hard drives, the clones of clones shunting up and down between South Africa, Kenya, even the United States, and the interest of the FBI. And last time we spoke, we discussed the fact that those three Gupta brothers and a business associate had been sanctioned by the US Treasury. So it could be, and I must emphasize could be, that there is such detailed proof, evidence, a chain of detail here on the Vrede dairy project that it is proving emblematic and critical to the work of the Commission.
Thank you very much. Erin Bates, live to us from Parktown.